We have to be in this life without allowing this life to own us. Is that we have to be in this life without allowing this life to own us. We have to go through this life but not get lost in this life. Just like the ocean. You can't get lost in the ocean. You have to use it, but you cannot allow it to own you. And so how is it that we can live our lives in this way? How is it that we can take our hearts back from dunya and give it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That is what Reclaim Your Heart is about. And it's about this journey of sometimes pain, sometimes struggle, sometimes loss. Now, in this journey, there's going to be things that we face. This life is not perfect. You know, here in Indonesia, you face a lot of natural disasters, an amazing amount of natural disasters. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect you. Can anyone control the weather? Can you control when there's an earthquake, or when there's a tsunami, or when it rains, or when it doesn't? No. Can the leader of your country control the weather? Can the richest person in the country control the weather? Anyone? You're not sure? No, right? We do not have control over the weather. We can't stop a storm from coming. We can't make a storm come. No matter how much power you have, no matter how much money you have, you can't make it rain. And you can't make it stop raining. Life is like this. We can't control some of the things that come in our lives. We can't control the weather of our lives. Sometimes storms are going to hit, and we can't control it. But what can we do? We can't make it stop raining, but we can go inside of the shelter. We can go inside of the protective shelter when it does rain and when it does storm. And this is what life is about. Yes, there's going to be storms that come our way. But when the heart is healthy, the heart can find a sanctuary where it is protected from the storms of life. That doesn't mean that you won't be affected by your storms, but it means that you won't be destroyed by your storms. You know, there's something amazing that I recently discovered, and that is that there's this type of tree called the sequoia. And this particular type of tree is almost fire resistant. And I found that to be so amazing, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created a tree that Allah has allowed it to be so resilient that it's almost resistant to fire, meaning that it doesn't get destroyed even when it burns. And when I read that, it just touched me, because I realized that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the human heart in a same way, in a similar way, where the heart has the potential to be that resilient, that even when it's burning, but it doesn't get destroyed. How can you have a heart like that? How can you have a heart that can go through storms and forest fires and not be destroyed? That is the question of reclaiming your heart. Because when you take it back from the dunya and you put it in the rightful place, the heart becomes like those sequoias. It has that ability to withstand and not be destroyed. But how can we do that? It all comes back to how do you take care of the heart? And how can you make the heart so healthy and alive that it is also almost fire resistant? You know, there's a really beautiful dua in the Quran of Ibrahim alayhi salam, in which he says to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَلَا تُخْزِنِي يَوْمَ يُبْعَثُونَ يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. That he's asking Allah, do not disgrace me on the day when we are brought back, when everyone is brought back. The day when nothing will benefit anyone of wealth or children. إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. Except for the one who comes back to Allah with a heart that's sound. What is qalbun salim? What is a heart that is healthy? What is this heart like? And how can we build this type of heart? Because that's the only one who's going to be successful, is the one who comes back to Allah with a heart that's healthy. But the question is, how do we get that kind of heart? What does it even look like? And the answer is, to summarize, qalbun salim is a heart that doesn't have a competitor with Allah. And I want you guys to reflect on that for a second. It's a heart that doesn't have any competitor with Allah. It doesn't mean it's a heart that has nothing in it. It doesn't mean a person who doesn't love anything. It means there's no competition with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It means there is nothing that that person loves as they should love Allah. Allah tells us in the Quran, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَتَّخِذُ مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ أَنْدَادًا يُحِبُّونَهُمْ كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ. That there are people who they take rivals with Allah, competitors with Allah. Now when you guys think about the concept of shirk, what do you think about usually when you think about shirk? You think maybe about an idol, right? Someone who prays to an idol. But look at this ayah. This ayah isn't talking about idols. It says, يُحِبُّونَهُمْ كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ. They love them as they should only love Allah. And so this is a competition in love. These competitors with Allah are competing in love. يُحِبُّونَهُمْ كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ. They love them as they should only love Allah. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. And those who believe are most intense in their love for Allah. That is what qalbun salim is. It's a heart that doesn't have a competitor with Allah. Now, why is it so important for us to talk about the heart to begin with? Why is this even a topic that we should sit here, spend some time, and listen to? Why do we talk about the heart? And the answer is that if you want to change your life, if in fact you want to change the world, the change starts internally. Allah tells us, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Indeed, Allah does not change the condition of a people until they change what's inside themselves. And so if you really want to talk about change, we have to look internally. We have to talk about how can we start to change inside, and then that will begin to change outside. But see, that's difficult because we live in a very deceptive world. And as I mentioned, when we're in the ocean of dunya, it's hard not to allow the dunya to come in. and to allow the dunya to own us. How do we do that? You know, if you think about for a moment the person that you love most in your life. Everyone have someone in mind? Now I want you to think for a moment, what happens when that person asks you for something? What happens when you find out that this person will be pleased if you do a certain action? If that person requests something from you, what happens? Well, they say jump, you say, how high? Why is that? Why is it that when we love someone, they say jump, we say how high? Why is it that when we love someone, our greatest happiness comes in pleasing that person? Why does the person we love have so much power over us? And the answer is that love is actually the most intense motivator. That in fact, the greatest motivator there is for a human being is love. And no one has to force you. You do it naturally. Think about the difference between a mother and a nurse. A mother and a nurse. Well, a nurse takes care of maybe a sick child. A mother takes care of a sick child. A nurse might have the night shift and be up all night taking care of a sick child. And a mother also has the night shift and may be up all night taking care of her sick child. But what happens when you tell the nurse that you're not going to pay her anymore? Is she still going to be up with that sick child? No. But the mother isn't getting paid. So what's motivating her? Love. She's not getting paid, but she's doing what someone else would only do if they were getting paid. And she will do it for years. She will give her blood, sweat, and tears. And that is just love. So if you really look, you realize that love is the greatest motivator. That's why we have to talk about the heart. Because whatever you love most becomes your master. You will do whatever it takes to please the one you love most. And if we love something else, as we should only love Allah, then we become a slave to that thing. So for example, there are people who worship money. What does it mean to worship money? Well, it doesn't mean that they've made an idol out of, cash. It means that they love money most. And because they love money most, they are willing to do anything for the sake of money. It is a type of worship. There are people who worship status. What does that mean? It means that they'll do anything for status, for being at a certain level in society. There are people who worship what other people think. What does that mean? It means that everything they do, everything they don't do, is because what are people going to say? What are people going to think about me, about my family? This is worship. Because you're a slave to what other people think.